Am I taking this off when I finish?
Just carry on for a bit.
Yeah. Okay, everybody, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for doing that little trick of having your photograph taken as well. You know me, I always like to do something a little bit different. I'm not going to spend too much time talking to you today. It's about hearing from others about the opportunity for the Community Renewal Fund. The reason we're here is because of this. You know, the Grimsby seafood cluster is one of the largest in the Northern Hemisphere. It's employing well over 5,500 jobs directly in seafood and fish processing, and also about 10,000 jobs in the supply chain. Most of those people working in the industry are living here in North East Lincolnshire. They're paying council taxes. They're processing fish that comes from all over the world, about 30 species from about 40 different countries. And we are supplying all the major retailers and all the major food service organisations throughout the UK. A little bit of exporting, that's been a bit tricky this past year or so with Brexit and legislation and paperwork and things. We're the home of the geographical indicator for traditional Grimsby smoked haddock. We have some world-class people working in our industry today based in Grimsby, involved in innovation, sustainability and marketing. And we do some great stuff with some of the co-products that we have. And that's been turned into fish meal and fish oil, and it's been exported. So the CRF fund, which is being led by the National Centre for Food Manufacturing, is a fantastic opportunity for all the businesses here in the region. Whether you're a large business, whether you're an independent mobile fish van seller, or you're somewhere in between. So to hear more about it, I'm going to introduce to you our good friends from NCFM, Professor Val Braybrooks. And the man who's got to really put his shoulder to the grind is Matt Thompson. And he's going to talk to you a little bit about the whole opportunity that we have. But over to you. Thanks, Val. And hello to everybody on YouTube, by the way, because we're filming this. I forgot about that. So, yeah, especially David Laister, who hopefully he's listening. He can't be here today because he's not allowed. But anyway, thank you.
Right, thanks. Thank you, Simon. Well, on behalf of the university, I'd like to welcome you here. I'm delighted so many of you found the time out of your busy schedules to join us. For those of you who won't be familiar with the University of Lincoln's National Centre for Food Manufacturing, we're a major resource for the UK food industry. We have a great resource around for research capability, innovation capability and skills capability. And we've worked with businesses across the UK and indeed in Grimsby, but this fund is so exciting because it really opens up the opportunity for us to really put some resource into Grimsby to help our businesses. It's part of the Community Renewal Fund, as Simon's explained. That was a £220 million fund that government launched last year, and it was highly competitive. Obviously, North East Lincolnshire Council have led the charge with a number of projects, and ours is part of that. So we're delighted and thankful for the council's support in that. But really pleased that we've got this piece of work to help our sector. And actually, when the fund was launched, and there was a lot of celebration on the part of government who wanted to make a lot of noise about it, it was great that they actually chose our project. Michael Gove chose to quote our project. So obviously, what we've got to do is make sure we deliver that huge impact that everybody really wants from this. And we've only got a short window of time. It actually sort of finishes in June, so we've got a lot to do in a short period of time. But we've got a great team of people to work with, and obviously working with all the organisations here, the college, Seafish, North East Lincolnshire Council, and the Grimsby and Humber Seafood Alliance. So we're, the college, of course, yeah. So we're a great partnership, bring lots of strengths, and we can cover lots of ground, whether it's skills, innovation, particular things around digital automation. We've got a huge resource base that hopefully Matt will explain more about, and you'll hopefully see little things that can help your business. So we're hugely excited about that, and I'd just like to say on behalf of all of us at the team at university, great to be working with you, and really looking forward to what comes out of our partnership. So thank you. And I'll hand over to my colleague Matt and to Janice in a minute. Okay. Oh, you want?
Janet want that one?
Oh, you've got one.
Yeah.
You want that one?
We're all sorted out on that. So, good afternoon, everyone. thank you very much for coming along. For those of you who don't know me, I know some of you around the room, which is always nice. My name's Matt Thompson, and a lot of people say to me, why do I work for the University of Lincoln? And we've actually got such a great resource there for food manufacturing in that. But I am a local boy, yeah. I'm born in Grimsby, I studied in Grimsby, did my degree here in Grimsby, and some of you may know Tony Taylor, Professor Tony Taylor, who's sat in the room as well, and may have worked with him on some seafood projects in the past as well. But we've got such an opportunity here, and all I can say is, and for me, there's a personal sort of pride behind this. I was giving some lectures before Christmas in Indonesia, yeah, and in Indonesia, the reputation of Grimsby stands out, yeah, on the back of people's work from the past. And it's part of this is about keeping that reputation and that longevity going as well, and realising that there are so many unique opportunities for the sector here for that. So in terms of what I'm wanting to look at today and talk about today is about why we're doing this fund. And really, this Community Renewal Fund is here to transform the seafood cluster. And that's not just about manufacturing and processing, that's also about the hospitality and retail aspects of the chain as well. Because this is about improving through seafood, innovation, projects, activities, to meet some of those challenges head on. So looking at green energy, carbon net zero, for example, and so looking at some of those challenges which are on the horizon, the opportunity of this project is to help build some of those concepts for how we can then use that to launch and boost into trigger other funding in the future as well. And this area is a key priority in terms of the council and the Greater Lincolnshire LEP as well. And it's also about fueling the Food Valley ambitions, the UK Food Valley ambitions that we have for Greater Lincolnshire. And it's seen as a key global cluster. But others are wanting to be a key global cluster too. So this is an opportunity for us to stay in that and be in part of that as well. And obviously, as Val has already mentioned, the partners in this project are ourselves at the University of Lincoln and the National Centre for Food Manufacturing, CFOX with Simon Dwyer, the Grimsby Humber Seafood Alliance, the Food Refrigeration and Process Engineering Research Centre at Grimsby Institute, FRPERC for short, yeah, just to get that out. And then obviously the council and the LEP as well within there. The support is there for businesses to access. So already I have been fortunate enough to speak to some businesses, particularly in the hospitality sort of area, where they're looking to actually how can they responsibly source some of their products? What can they do in terms of innovations around new ideas, new products, processes they can come up with, recipe management and things like that. But it's also there for the manufacturers as well in terms of accessing new markets, new challenges as well. Why are we involved? Well, the National Centre for Food Manufacturing is really well positioned. I think as people have quoted, it's the skills and innovation powerhouse. And we believe that in the work that we do. We work with across the sectors, supply chains for the food industry, and we have about 1,000 learners annually across 250 businesses, studying a range of programs, short courses, degree apprenticeships, high-level research as well. We also, in terms of the skills, lead in terms of the Institute of Technology with Lincolnshire on digital food manufacturing as well. And that offer of the apprenticeships standard in food technology, technical operator, food science, food technology, supply chains. Everyone sort of sees food, but that means seafood as well. It's all within that that piece in there. And we also are involved in innovation in digital teaching and learning. So not just about doing sessions on Teams, but also getting into, with our computer science guys, more wide and varied sort of roles in that education piece as well. And our innovation and research is really based around three championed areas. So digital and automation, which Janet leads on here as well. My colleagues, Wayne gets involved in sustainability and food insights too, and then other colleagues around food microbiology, food chemistry. So when we're talking about that innovation, it's about how we bring those different dimensions together and how we can work with you to actually look at how we improve sustainability, look at innovative ways of production processing as well, but also in that refrigeration engineering space too. And also looking at working with businesses to make significant investment in new equipment to improve the operational effectiveness and efficiencies as well. And I think above all, as a university and as a school within that university, where our talent lies is that we've got that combination of academic and industry rigour. So people like my colleagues Janet, Mark and others are not just about being academics, they're also ex-industry people as well with many years of experience. So they understand that things are needed tomorrow, not necessarily in 2 years' time. Yeah? So it's about working quick, it's about working rapidly in there as well. In terms of the project, our aims and our targets are distilled here, but the focus is to support small, medium-sized businesses, 75 of them in that project. And within that includes hospitality, wholesalers, retailers, not just manufacturing as well. So it's that whole supply chain that we're looking to engage with in there. And also those technical services which come into that for as well. But it's also there to benefit some large businesses as well. And where that support that we provide with those larger SMEs is about how we can benefit the SMEs in the supply chain too, and work with those colleagues and build those collaborative links for all stakeholders. In terms of the project team, we've got a breadth of knowledge in that team. Industrial scientists, technical and logistics specialists. So beyond what you're seeing here today, there is another 50 staff who can support a wide range of projects across a wide range of fields, from process and product development, supply chain, production management, technical management, procurement. The list goes on, yeah, within that. And that also filters into the areas of digital robotics, automation, processing. So Ben, who's playing around with the camera and sorting all the technical things out today, also gets involved in some of that IT support, some of that digital development with businesses as well, and also looking at digital twins and augmented reality activity as well within that. And beyond that, we also have commercial specialists within finance, business planning, marketing, skills and workforce development. So it's not just about what's here today, but it's what we can build for the future in that piece as well. And importantly, in terms of all of the stakeholders and that key network and the collaborations, it's about building that business community and helping support that community further as well. So the Grimsby and Humber Seafood Alliance, in terms of the stakeholders, getting their people involved, getting businesses involved, asking us what it is that you want to do and the support we can provide, but also through the strategic leads as well with the council, Seafish, the LEP and the Food Valley as well. And beyond the networks here today, we can also, I think one of the powerhouses of the university comes from not just what you see at NCFM, but what you see across the whole university, through the computer science teams, through the Lincolnshire Institute of Agri-Food Technology as well, and our other schools and colleges in the university too. Because within there, we've got a wealth of knowledge and wealth of activity happening in terms of, you know, for some areas, some of you might be getting excited and thinking about robots in the business and all these sort of, we've got those sort of facilities taking place. For others, it might be doing something much more fundamental to the business in terms of core growth, development as well. We've got those skills across the team to filter in there. And then working with Seafish, we've also got that link with the industry networks as well, and working with the groups that are associated with Seafish and bringing in specialists for certain areas and certain activities too. In terms of the opportunities, they are quite broad. It's almost the world is your oyster with some of this, yeah? Yeah. But what we want to do is actually look at specific challenges. So if they're around automation, the opportunities which might be there around automation, they might exist about how you might improve the efficiency of a process, an activity. It could be in terms of product and process development, coming up with an innovative ingredient. So yesterday, a chef called me and said, I've got a load of squid ink, what can I do with it? Yeah. So it might even be doing simple things, simple development recipe sort of approaches, and looking at those sort of aspects in there as well. Sustainability and insights. So starting to look at what is it the market really wants. Am I supplying them what they need when they need it? And that really reminds me of my time working within the Channel Islands and actually looking at how we get product from the Channel Islands to the right people in the right market. So we become price makers rather than price takers as well in there. Consumption and healthy food. So looking at seafood as a healthy option, encouraging people to eat and consume fish regularly as well. But also behind that is also looking at underutilised species as well. Are there other species of fish that could be consumed and eaten? Are there other sustainable sources which could be accessed as well? What about seaweed as another alternative across a whole range of products? And not just food, but maybe drink as well in there. Carbon net zero, and we start looking at some of those and thinking about, well, how do we become energy efficient? So as I look to 2030, we're starting to think about energy efficiency, vehicles. Well, what about our transport chains? How can we improve efficiency? And there's opportunity within this project to build some concepts to then look at future funding to develop those as well. And then looking at work as well. And I know my colleague, Professor Swainson and Graham are going to talk about some work on refrigeration, engineering, storage sort of piece as well. But we can also work with you on some of that market and brand protection elements too and in there. But ultimately, this is about helping you and working with your business on that innovation health check as well. And Val quite rightly mentioned, this project isn't just about support, it can also be about skills, masterclasses on sessions as well. So what we're also keen to know is, you know, I can give you a list of things that we could offer, but I want to hear what it is you want us to deliver for the sector as well. And that might be around technical aspects in the chain, production. So, you know, as COVID-19 started, I did a presentation with 100 plus businesses across, which was global, which was about the challenges of COVID-19 and food manufacturing. We could come up with innovative approaches, and we do 1-2 hour sessions with people on that. But there's access to training and support around a whole range of activities, and also within leadership and management as well. So those young seafood leaders might also have an opportunity in there too as well. In terms of the sport itself, it's about accessing some expert advice and our services free of charge. So Becky's got lots of forms with her today, and she might ask you to sign them. If you want to sign them, you can sign up to the programme right now as well. And we can offer some of that support, and we can start talking about that and get the ball rolling and start doing things with you as well. In terms of the business planning advice and guidance from seafood experts, we can access a pool of experts. We know the people to talk to, people to ask, to actually find out some of that information should you need it. You might want us to do some work on research background. You might have an idea, but you want to do some background research to actually test the feasibility of that. And we can support that as well. And we can provide that access to training specifically designed for the sector and your business as well in there. There's help for hospitality businesses, and that might be about putting local seafood on the menu. Yeah, so coming up with new innovative ways and the seafood which is consumed and how that's used. So, you know, I've already had some businesses asking me about specific products and how they can get them on, and they want to move away from haddock and cod as an example on there. They want to understand where can they get an MSC label product locally as well on that. And there's also the opportunity of grants for the SMEs as well, up to £9,000 match. 50-50 match, and obviously those will be judged on a case-by-case basis with a panel that we have to actually check the feasibility. But that could be about buying small items of equipment. Because the project is quite short, we're imagining that will be around those smaller items which businesses need to make impact in their businesses. And also maybe it's to help them bounce back from COVID as well within that. And the support is flexible. It could be a few hours. It could be several days. What we've got to do is manage that support with each business as well on there. So, if you want to check your eligibility, ask me. Feel free to contact me. Speak to Simon as well, who's disappeared to the back of the room, as well. But speak to us both, and we'll be more than happy to discuss that with you, pick that conversation up as well, and move on. Okay. Janet. So I'll introduce Associate Professor Janet Bellamy, who's going to give you some examples of work that we've been doing.
Okay, and probably break the system in the meantime. So yes, thank you. Really great to see so many people here today as well, and some familiar faces of people I've worked with in the past, so that's nice too. So my name's Janet Bellamy. As Matt described very politely, I'm one of those industry academic hybrids. So I've got over 30 years manufacturing experience. And I was quite fortunate. When I got the opportunity to join the university, I shared an office with 3 other people. Between the 4 of us in that office, we had 120 years industry experience across various areas of engineering, operations management, supply chain, ops director level. So when we say that we can tap into experts that have probably already felt that pain of some of the businesses that are sat in the room today, we genuinely can, because we've lived and breathed it. So the research that we're doing and delivering and the support that we're delivering is really hands-on. It's about real life issues and situations now, and making sure that we're ready as an industry for what the future can bring, and that you've got access to that innovation and those ideas. So that's really what we're about. We're driven by our passion for food and drink. And I always think that's quite unique in terms of food and drink as a manufacturing industry. So that's very much what we're about. So what I'm going to share with you now are some of the programs that we've worked through with some of the SMEs and businesses that we've worked on those programs. Now, they're quite different businesses. And whilst they're all associated with food and drink, they're all doing different things within that whole supply chain. So Warden Agri, we started working with on UEZ. They applied for a capital grant, which was around about £2,000, I think, for a new printer for the office. But that led into conversations and trying to understand what the business was about, whether there was other areas that we could support them with. So we then moved on to our 12-hour support on Glaffit, where we started to look at the waste products that they were handling and were there alternative uses to these waste products. Could we do something that added value back into the process? As a result of that, we identified that there was potential for knowledge transfer, of looking at ways that we could add value back into the process and make sure that that skill was embedded back in the business. So we started to work with them on a knowledge transfer partnership application. And we're about to start with an associate in the business in the next month. So that all came from a conversation over a printer. So please don't think that you can't change the world just by something simple and something quite straightforward. You can. It really is as broad or as short as you want it to be. And that's the key. We listen to what you need. We're not here to tell you what you need. We listen to what you're telling us about your business and then help you to get to that solution. Euroflow are an engineering company. So we started with Euroflow. They came into one of our programs. Cotomaco is about leveling up. It's about making robots and automation, and cobots in particular, available to small and medium-sized businesses so that they understand what that latest technology looks like. It's very lonely and it's very busy running your own business, and a lot of the small and medium businesses don't have the time or the breadth to be able to go out and look and see what's there. I often say, you know, now, if I've known what I know now when I was in industry, that level of information would have been phenomenal. The impact on the business I was working with. We go into so many different industries. We have so many collaborations that we literally are on the forefront of what's going on. And that's where you need us to be as businesses. We need to be best placed to be able to give you that advice. So working through this, what we've been able to do, just through this contact, somebody that's part of our ecosystem, a system that we develop, that we don't have any favourites within that system. It's about who's best placed. We have about 300 businesses, technology businesses, that we work with on a regular basis that are part of that ecosystem. We then spotted a potential solution for a pick and place idea. So we're now working through a horizon bid to actually deliver that to market. So something that we're talking about that would have had a technology level, readiness level of around 2, we can advance very quickly to a 7, meaning it's ready for market, it's ready for people to use. Not only is it ready for people to use, it becomes affordable. So that's where we are now. We're in the process of putting that application together. And that came from, again, from a general inquiry from a business that heard what we were doing with Cotomaco, wanted to be involved with that programme. Could they offer any support or services with it? And after several meetings, we found that we had lots of things in common that we could deliver. Imp and Maker are a retail business, so luxury hampers. We started off with Imp and Maker on Glaffip. And this was about setting the business up, establishing the business. So we looked at trademarks, we looked at IP around their brand, around the brand name. We also looked at some recipe development. It was a very nice day, actually, trying to do taste panel on vodka, blackcurrant vodka. So, but it was a tough job, but we got there. And then we've got Cotomaco, which was the next stage for them. So this was about the consultancy support. So it was looking at the process flow and the layout of how they operate, what they do, how they pack, and looking at ways that we can improve that and provide alternatives to it. And now we're looking at planning and management systems and maybe the next stage of that Cotomaco project of cobot integration. Now, all of this sounds really expensive, but it doesn't need to be. Okay, some of what we do is quite straightforward. Some of it might be advice. It might be a change of process flow. It might just be a different way of doing something. It doesn't have to involve hundreds of thousands of pounds expense. It could be a £25 sensor. So recently I went into a cider manufacturer that had potentially 14 people on the line. Now, they didn't have 14 people to be able to put them on the line. So they'd had to hold back producing cider, and there's a narrow window for being able to do that. Now, with the introduction of about £2,000 worth of sensors, we didn't need the 14 people, we only needed 2. So it doesn't have to be a massive outlay to actually solve some of the problems. Sometimes it's just a different way of thinking and a different way of doing. Some individual case studies, Mr. Hudders, we've given support to around product testing, shelf life, nutritional, looking at labels, making sure that the content of the labels are legal and that everything is on there that needs to be on there. Jenny's Jams over in Lincoln, we've provided salsa support. So Jenny wanted to supply retailers, but in order to do that, she needed to have salsa. So we took her through the process of salsa and gave support around putting procedures into the business, writing up those procedures and looking at the HACCP as well. Lincoln Distillery, we had on 2 programs, but the UEZ program, we looked at the layout of the distillery. So we redesigned and helped them to redesign the layout. We looked at testing equipment for ABV to speed that process up for them and to improve the quality of the calculations. And we've also given funding advice. So, you know, we can direct you. We work very closely with all of the councils, all of the local authorities, the LEP, business links, working to make sure that we can signpost funding where that's available. And then we've got One Planet Pizza, who again were on Cotomaco, that we gave consultancy support to. And with them, we've looked at the process flow, the layout, we've looked at automation, we've given them robotic solutions. And that business started off as a small business in Norfolk with 5 employees. They're now up to, I think, 14 employees. I'm looking at Graham because Graham's been working with me on this one. But they're now about to move further afield. So we've managed to introduce them to some of our European contacts. And who knows, you know, there could be more divisions of One Planet Pizza across Europe in the next 4 or 5 years, and that would be great. So it really is about what you need. And sometimes the hardest challenge is understanding what that is. And we're here to support that. We're here to help you to get to that. And, you know, 12 hours, it doesn't sound like a lot of time, but you can do an awful lot in 12 hours, particularly when you're talking to people that already know the answers. So no question is a daft question. No question is you know, too broad or too wide for us to deal with. Because if it's me and I don't know the answer, I probably know 5 other people that do. And that's the beauty of the National Centre for Food Manufacturing. You know, I'm surrounded by 49 other people that all have that industry experience that we can draw on. So please do fill in those forms and please do come and talk to us after this. And we're here to help you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Janet. Thank you. All my hands full. So, thank you, Janet. And I'm Mark Swainson, Professor of Industrial Food Technology over at the University of Lincoln's National Centre for Food Manufacturing, and presenting today with Dr. Graham Purnell of FR Perk. So, Graham's part of the Food Refrigeration and Process Engineering Research Centre. You've heard already on the presentations that the National Centre for Food Manufacturing is delivering education, skills, training and research, all tailored to support the food sector. On the cold stores project that we're about to speak about, you'll hear what we've done in terms of working in close collaboration with Graham at FR Perk, who led the study, and also the project team, which included Simon Dwyer of CFOX, Dr. Ed Hammond of ECH Engineering, and also Christy and James of FR Perk. Cold storage, and in this particular case frozen cold storage, is of such vital importance to the seafood sector. And the Frozen Cold Stores Review looked at current capacity, infrastructure and operating practices with a view to enabling the sector stakeholders to be able to sort of have the visibility they require to plan ahead into the future. And those future requirements are likely to be a combination of operational, financial and sustainability challenges. And so you need that visibility from reports and studies like this to be able to then take informed decisions to then take your business forward. We're very conscious that today's audience are from a mixed range of backgrounds and stakeholders. So we're not assuming that you're all cold stores, for a long way from it. But the focus is on the pilot programme for North East Lincolnshire for the seafood sector. So when Graham's now going to be speaking about the approach and findings that we took for the cold stores report, we'd really recommend you considering how a similar custom-built approach could work and be taken to review and support the seafood sector businesses that yourselves potentially represent within the pilot programme. And as Janet's just said, the topics can be many and varied. I love that point that you can do an awful lot in 12 hours if you already know a lot of the answers there. And that's hard won. That comes from a lot of work and experience. It comes from a team. And we love the opportunity of working closely with the sector to make that real difference for every individual business, or clusters of business if they want to work together in partnership as well. And it's a real exemplar today of the seafood cluster that everybody's come together to be able to advance this agenda. So, whether it's to develop, optimize or innovate your business, we're here. We want to work together in partnership with you. And thank you very much for your engagement so far with the agenda and the initiative. And it's now a pleasure to hand over to Dr. Graham Purnell from FR Perk, who will be able to take you through the study we did. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I wasn't expecting you to stop there. Hello, I'm Graham Purnell. I'm a Senior Research Fellow at the Natalie entitled Food Refrigeration and Process Engineering Research Centre. We're based here in Grimsby at the Grimsby Institute. There's only a small number of us in the group, but between us we have about 100 man-years of experience. Again, as Janet was saying, when you gather people together who've got a little bit of knowledge in one area and in another area, as a team, you can hit a lot of help, a lot of support. I'm also a visiting lecturer down at the NCFM. So the FR Perk, we work very closely with our colleagues at the University of Lincoln, even though we are based here in the North East Lincolnshire region. Now, let's try that one. Yay. Here, you've just got 2 arrows, and depending which way up you hold it, it's going to be up or down. So I was lucky. I was lucky the first time round. I'll say a little bit more about FR Perk. We are food refrigeration and process engineering, covers absolutely everything, nearly everything that happens with food, but our core expertise is in temperature processes, because temperature controls so much about what happens with food. It controls the longevity, it controls the safety, it controls the quality, controls processing characteristics. Have you ever tried cutting a fish that's at 15 degrees C? It's darn sight more difficult than cutting one that's at 2 degrees C, for instance. So temperature is the main part of our expertise, which is where we dovetail very nicely with the vast range of expertise of our colleagues down at the NCFM. But we also get involved with energy studies, water use, bits of sustainability, all sorts of things like this. What I'm going to talk about today is a study that we did last year in conjunction with the University of Lincoln and wherever Simon is at CFOX, Simon over there, ourselves, and an engineering company. We've got 4 organisations you saw on that first slide. They've got disparate expertises, but working together, you can cover a great deal of ground and add context to everything that you do. And that's the strength of the group, and that's the strength of expertises that are going to be, which are offered under this CRF, the Community Renewal Fund programme that we're launching today. So I think we've already said somebody's covered. The seafood sector is very important to the Grimsby region. Jobs, lots of companies and businesses, and I think somebody said there's 10,000 jobs in the support sector as well. And because this is a food region, fish region, frozen cold storage underpins all that. It's part of the supporting chain. So there's capacity, it's the service, it's convenience, everything ties together in the cluster. And so what we were asked to do as part of this study is look at the cold storage, the frozen cold storage available in the region, and is it available to support the industry? Is it doing its job? What could be better? How can it improve? We're also looking at energy consumption and general usefulness for support for the sector. So this was approached through interviews, through a small number of site visits, but as a cluster. We covered about 75% of the cold store operators, or the 3PL, third-party logistics stores in the region, and the major users of those stores as well. And is it still the same? I think what we're saying in the top part there is, as Janet alluded to, if you have the right team asking the questions, or the right team performing the study, you ask the right questions, you get to a solution, you get to usefulness quickly. And with this understanding of the needs and the demands on the industry, putting that down in a concise manner that's useful and accessible for the people who will be looking at it is another key point. So that's about the sector and by using those people together. What we found, now this is from a small section of a snapshot, but we found the range of the footprint size of stores were between about 1,000 square metres to 1,300 square metres. There's quite a range of stores in the Grimsby area. But the mean, the average, was smaller. It's not in the middle of that range. So we've got quite a lot of smaller stores and a few bigger stores. Somewhere between 200 and 30,000 pallets are available. But the key thing, the range of utilisation, the number of pallets that are in those stores, range from 60% in the least full store we spoke to 100% completely full. The important part there really is that the average was average store was 98% full. So that's almost at capacity. There's not a lot of headroom in there. It's great if you're a cold store operator. That's what you want. You want pallets on your shelves. You want money coming in. If you're a user of those cold stores, that's less good because there isn't that buffer available to you. But every situation is different. Every organisation, every business will have a different position in that. A different amount of expertise, different amount of knowledge to use that. As a cold as cold stores go, there are things that the cold stores can do to improve performance, which we also covered in this report. I can go into a lot of these in a bit more detail, but a few I'd like to pick out. The structures, how they are put together. There's not a lot you can do. If you've already got your insulated box full of cold product, there's not much you can do to change that once you've got it. So structures, which are aging in the area, are going to be a limitation because they will soon become, I'm not going to say not fit for purpose, less efficient. Let's call it less efficient. And there's very little you can do. You can't take a wall off and put a wall on an operating cold store. Refrigeration, I'm not going to mention that. There are small things you can do. If you're into running a cold store, I'll tell you about these in a bit more detail offline, but I don't think everybody needs it. Fans, they're often too big. They're often using more energy than they should because of evolution of the system. Defrosts and maintenance specifications, when we were talking to people, we were finding that quite often they were asking for the refrigeration companies to maintain the systems in a way that reduced the maintenance costs. What this does is it increases the number of defrosts, so it increases the energy consumption. It also has tends for less efficient refrigeration kit because the settings are such that you don't have to call the refrigeration engineers in to fiddle with things. It tends to use more energy, but you're saving on maintenance costs. So there are pros and cons of a lot of these things that can be done to improve the situation. And it depends on where you are, which ones work. I don't think we have any cold store operators in the room, but we do have some users, I'm sure. So I'll leave it there on that part. Where does the sector stand in the Grimsby area? So the blue dots on here are, well, almost a decade ago now, but it's the best data I found, are cold stores across Europe. Up here, we have the amount of energy they use in a year. Across the bottom is their volume. So across Europe, you can see there is a wide range of relationships between size of store and the energy that's used. Some are very good, like the ones over here, where they're large stores using very little energy. And there are some that are less good, which are the ones up here. In the Grimsby region, all the stores are in that dotted line, within that dotted boundary, and the mean is about there. So at the moment, the Grimsby sector, or the Grimsby area cold stores, yeah, they're about normal. They're in the zone. But because the infrastructure is aging, that's not going to last. Having some numbers, I like numbers. That's the same data here, but summarized. These are some studies that were put together looking at the SEC, which is the relationship between the size and the energy use. And this is the data we collected from the study in this lower section here. And you can see, comparing across the lines, that the Grimsby area is normal, average, middle of the road. The key thing, though, is if you start looking at state of the art, you're looking at improved insulation that's not beginning to break down with time. If you're looking at proper door control, you're looking at the correct lighting and the correct behaviours of staff in plant, those specific energy requirements, the efficiency of those stores, can be pulled down quite a lot. So even though, let's take the mean here, so 70 kilowatt hours per metre cubed per year is the mean. A third of that, we can get down to a third of that by modern kit, by modern technologies and approaches. However, that is if you're starting from a fresh sheet of paper, a fresh field. The stores we've got aren't. They're already there. So we're into looking at what retrofittable approaches would work to try and pull down energy efficiencies.
Graham, just 1 minute, please.
Just 1 minute?
Yeah.
So, I'm going to scuttle on. Key things. The stores are almost full, which means there's limited potential for growth. But the structure of this study illustrates what can be done under the CRF. We can benchmark areas, We can provide options for improvement. We can support the sector in moving forwards. And we can also help to use this as a cluster approach to try and get some more funding for regional and external support. So a little bit gabbled towards the end, I'm afraid. But if you want to know a bit more about the detail, please come and have a chat with me afterwards.
Well done. Thanks, Graham.
You want that one?
No, I don't think I've got any slides. This is really, really important. Really important. Because last week the government launched its own seafood fund, £65 million infrastructure. The report has been circulated with some of the larger businesses in this area, and it's also been circulated with the coal store companies. And following a consultation with DEFRA yesterday, there is potentially one cold store business in this area that's going to make a multi-million-pound investment in a new facility on the back of the cold storage report that we've done, and we'll be getting somewhere in the region of between 25 and 35% contribution from the DEFRA fund, which has been eloquently written up by David Laister in the Business Telegraph. So it's a little bit hard work sometimes following these things, but there was a method in the madness in NCFM supporting this report and it being published. And it'll be a great outcome for the region if we can get this investment into new cold storage. And if we're running at 98% capacity, which we still are, then it's equally important that we get new stock built. And we've got some huge businesses investing in Grimsby in cold storage. ACS&T, the American-based Lineage, and others. So it's mega important that this report was done. And thanks again to NCFM for the support. That's pretty much it. You can see that there's opportunities all over the place. We've been talking to one mobile fish van about helping them with an investment in some refrigeration for their van, so that they can carry more fish and sell more fish. The average consumption of fish in this country is 1.16 portions a week. That equals about £1.5 billion to Grimsby. The recommended NHS website recommends, it's on the website, Fish and Shellfish, Google it, it recommends 2 portions a week, one being an oily fish. So 1.1, 1.5 billion. 2, work out the maths. It can only be good for Grimsby. And something else that we want to do on the back of this is that we want to engage with large organisations. It could be the council, it could be the CCG, it could be the police, whoever it might be. We want to engage with them. And we want large organisations to make a pledge. And we want them to make a pledge to encourage their staff to eat fish twice a week. And the more people in this region that we can get to eat fish twice a week, the more it is for the people down Ryby Street or on the port or whoever. It's going to be the smaller businesses that's going to benefit. So I'm going to be coming knocking on some doors soon. Yeah? I will be knocking on doors. I'll be knocking on doors of some of the big industry businesses here that have a footprint outside of Grimsby as well. So we really want to get good engagement in making sure that we get people eating more fish from Grimsby. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your attention. I forgot to mention if there's a fire, there's an exit there and an exit here, right? Thank God you didn't have any mobile phones going off as well. And what else? There's some food. There's plenty of people knocking around for questions. If there's any immediate questions Matt and I can answer now, happy to take them. Or Matt is, anyway.
Well, I think one thing is I want to thank Hilton Seafood for providing some food
Sorry.
today as well. That's really appreciated.
Yeah.
Appreciative of that. But as Simon says, if anyone has any questions, either ask now, forever hold your peace, or ask while you're eating. Yeah, I don't mind.
And also, we'd like to thank Grimsby Town Football Club. It's not very often that we get. We used to be here all the time, if I remember rightly, and it's not very often that we get here. So it's great to be supporting Grimsby Town Football Club. Thanks to Dave Smith and the team. There's some fishy, snackety things there. Help yourselves and ask away. Thank you.